This is a review of one of my favorite books, Heavier Than Heaven by Charles Cross. It's a biography of Kurt Cobain and Nirvana. It's a good book if you're interested in music in general. You don't really have to be a big Nirvana fan, maybe just a casual fan of their music. But it goes in depth of the whole Seattle scene and how Nirvana launched their career, their early touring in the late 80s, and how they got a record deal. They actually worked really hard and toured extensively through the country and basically lived in a van to support themselves and pawn guitars. They really had it rough going, but they played hundreds of shows around the country and using their own money and everything, gas money. They moved their own instruments and everything. And it basically shows how Kurt Cobain in his early life, all the influences and music that he had, from hard rock like Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, AC/DC, and then he used the music of his his late teens and early 20s like punk rock, and then he fused all that together, which basically created grunge. I mean, he wasn't the creator of that music, but he's definitely the one that popularized it. And with the album Nevermind and launching Smells Like Teen Spirit on MTV, which played non-stop. Actually, Soundgarden and Mudhoney and some other bands came before Nirvana, but after Nirvana, all those bands started launching into the mainstream too, so they're kind of responsible for that whole genre of music becoming popular. But unfortunately, it died out in 1994 after Kurt Cobain's passing. But I like reading about the background and everything of some of Nirvana's most famous shows that they talk about in this book, like the Unplugged show, how Kurt Cobain thought that he did a terrible job and he was suffering from withdrawal from heroin. But actually it turned out to be their most memorable performance on TV, and spawned some great cover versions of less popular songs like The Man Who Sold the World and Where Did You Sleep Last Night, some great covers. But the book starts getting kind of dark towards the end of Kurt Cobain's life, when all the publicity and media attention started getting to him, and his brief stint in rehab before he died, and how things kind of started falling apart for him. Even though that's what he originally wanted, was to become famous off his music, it took a wrong turn for him, and his family started getting smeared in magazines, and he was fighting back against that and his whole media image that he didn't want, and details some of his struggles, his mental issues. But this book's been criticized because of supposedly has a lot of input from Courtney Love. But still, if you're a Nirvana fan, I think you would learn a lot from this book, behind the scenes and how Kurt Cobain actually was from the perspective of his friends and family. But I was mostly interested in the music and how he'd write songs in his girlfriend's apartment all day. He would just play the guitar and write songs, and the dedication that ultimately led to his success. It's a good story, and anyone that would want to become a professional musician just takes dedication and hard work. And it seemed like from this book a lot of his issues stem from his his parents divorced, and that's when his rebellious streak kind of took hold in his early years. And then in the late 80s, he started getting into drug use, which ultimately heroin destroyed a lot of great musicians in Seattle, and he was one of them. And then there's others like Lane Staley and Alice in Chains, and Scott Weiland of Stone Temple Pilots. Drugs took the lives of a lot of musicians, but I thought this was a good book and highly recommend it. I would give it a read. Probably my favorite music biography.